You know the moment I started hating Mank?
You're not going to pick on poor Mank again, are you?
I am. It commits an intense sin of movies. In Citizen Kane, there's the moment where Bernstein is talking about how he remembers a woman on the ferry. He saw her for a matter of seconds, and he thinks about her once a week.
She had the white parasol.
Yeah, the white parasol. We all know what the white parasol woman looks like because we all created it in our own head. It's the magic of storytelling, and Orson Welles knew that it would be hacky to show that moment. And you know what Mank does?
Shows that moment.
He shows that moment. Now, you know who the parasol woman is? You do, because she was cast by David Fincher, handed a parasol. It's a crime against humanity.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't look at me like that. You have strong opinions, too.
I've got a bunch of movies that I've never seen before. You don't know what they are. Every episode, I'm going to spring one on you. It might be good. It might be bad. We'll watch it and talk about it. Welcome to the basement. You're very strange today.
I am very strange today.
What are you eating?
Drugs. It's a cough drop. And it's melted a little bit, so it's not popping out. Okay. Would you like me to continue on with my oddities?
No, I don't want to.
Have you seen my jacket?
It's the jacket that's doing it.
I'm a 19th century dandy. Well, here you are as a cut-rate lumberjack. Why do I even have my glasses on?
We've been doing this show for 10 years now. It's been quite a while, and I must say over the years, you haven't changed a bit.
Wow.
It's almost as though you have a secret picture of yourself that's hidden away, and the picture is that of an old man, while you remain eternally young, just like in the Picture of Dorian Gray.
Here we go!
Released in 1945, TPODG is based on the novel of the same name by legendary wit Oscar Wilde. And it stars George Saunders, Hurd Hatfield, Donna Reed, Peter Lawford, and basement alum Angela Lansbury.
Yes.
It was directed by Albert Lewin, who also wrote the screenplay. The narrator is Cedric Hardwicke, who I could have sworn was a basement alum up until this point, but he is not. Until now, of course.
Yes.
I think I confused him with Edward Woodward, who has a similarly weird name. Her role in this film would earn Angela Lansbury her second of 3 Oscar nominations, and she would go on to lose to Anne Revere for her role in National Velvet. Lansbury received an honorary Academy Award in 2013.
I didn't know George Sanders was in this. I'm a big George Sanders fan.
That's the guy who was in All About Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He married 2 Gabor sisters.
Wow.
And committed suicide.
Okay. This story takes place in England, where they sure do like their gin. I know you're partial to your gin and tonic, but perhaps tonight's gift will inspire you to try something new.
It's a glass. Seagram's Gin, Red Snapper, Seagram's Gin, and tomato juice. Now I know how to make it.
I had heard stories about making Bloody Marys with gin instead of vodka, and I tried it, and I'm a convert.
Really?
There's something about it. I couldn't tell you what. Okay, get on over to the old leather couch. Go to the couch. There's a picture on the couch. Pictures of a Google. Picture of Dorian Gray. Not my best intro.
That was, I didn't even realize he was doing the intro. I thought he was just kind of working it through.
That's what you get.
Jun 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 jun. It's merry old London.
1886, the year of Dorian Gray. If the word rather turned into a person, it would be George Sanders. Harry Wooden is visiting his friend Basil, the painter.
Henry starts to orate. He is a bon mot machine.
Your cynicism is simply a pose.
Being natural is simply a pose, and the most irritating pose I know. But
What about this pose?
That's pretty irritating.
Sitting for a portrait that day is young Dorian Gray. A rather accomplished pianist and a rich young man, Dorian is nothing but good looks.
You must lend me these pieces, Basil. I want to learn them.
Lend me this piano as well so I can play them.
all influence is immoral.
And most importantly,
But there is only one thing in the world worth having, and that is youth. My visit to you hasn't been wasted, Basil. I found a rare...
get out of the shot! Now there's this big blurry top hat going through it.
Women are so fond of using it. They spoil every romance by trying to make it last forever.
And by trying to have heterosexual sex with me.
Basil's niece Gladys comes in.
Gladys? And she's got a big old crush on Dorian, but she's only a little girl.
It's a beautiful painting, as promised.
Wouldn't it be great if he could just be young forever? And what if I said this out loud next to a magical Egyptian cat?
Meanwhile, down at the Two Turtles pub, one of the two turtles is of enormous girth, and on his back he holds the earth, and the other turtle is his cousin. There's a puppet show going on. Craig, would you perhaps like them to pick up the pace?
Faster? Faster? Whoa, hello, lady. Keep it down. Keep those down.
Dorian has gone there to see Sybil Vane. Someone opens the door to the pub and the wind blows in and she starts spinning around. And she sings a song about a little yellow bird.
Goodbye, little yellow bird.
Solve a mystery and read it. Hey, lady, go solve a mystery and write a book.
I knew you'd get it.
Sybil Vane.
Probably thinks the yellow bird song is about her. Sybil Vane. Dorian goes backstage to meet her. And love is born. But her brother Jim...
He doesn't like this Dorian fella. He doesn't know why.
Can't you read what people are in their faces?
No, and neither can you. Sybil is smitten by Dorian and calls him Sir Tristan.
Late as usual, Harry.
Please forgive me, Aunt Agatha.
The thing about being late is that if you're late enough, you end up being early.
To regain one's youth, one has merely to repeat one's follies.
A delightful theory.
A dangerous theory.
Chester A. Arthur. Back to America. You're supposed to be running things over there.
Women represent the triumph of matter over mind, just as men represent the triumph of mind over morals.
Boom!
I had no idea that little yellow bird was on the menu.
It doesn't take long for Dorian to propose to Sybil.
Dorian engaged. To whom, Harry?
To an actress in a cheap vaudeville.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And how did you know my middle name? Harry Shirley Wooden.
Faithfulness is merely laziness.
And lacefulness is merely phasiness. I'm sorry, I've had lots of gin and tomato juice. Ask her to spend the night with you. If she says yes, you'll know she's not worth marrying. If she says no, you'll know that she's virtuous and you should marry her. This is good advice, Dorian.
Dorian invites Sybil back to his place, plays her little song,
And he asks her to stay the night.
Don't leave me now. Don't go home.
Baby, it's cold outside. She leaves. But then she comes back.
You know what? I want to get with those fingers. She doesn't say that out loud. It's implied in her eyes. She got nominated for an Oscar for this.
Dorian writes her a letter and says, I can't believe how scandalous you are.
Not gonna marry you. And then he notices something about the picture.
It's changed slightly. The expression on the face. There's more cruelty to it.
But he was being ridiculous. This was a mere hallucination.
A bit of undigested potato.
Soon thereafter, Dorian feels guilty about this.
I think maybe I'll marry Sybil after all. When Harry shows up and says, hey, didn't you hear?
What's happened?
Drown in the Thames.
Sybil Vane is dead.
Drown in the Thames.
Tell me everything, Harry.
Drown in the Thames.
They found her lying on the floor. It's tragic, of course, but you mustn't let yourself brood over it.
For we all know that to brood is to be rude. Not my best, but I just thought of it now. They should just go to the opera that night, which is exactly what they do. What they do!
Basil comes by and says, hey, Dorian, I heard you went to the opera while your girlfriend died.
If you had come in yesterday at a particular moment, about 5:30 or 5:45.
Or half past a monkey's ass.
Even Harry.
Hey, let me take a look at that painting I painted. You'll never see that painting.
Have you noticed something curious in the painting?
No. Not, oh, that old thing? Oh, did I say that it looks old?
I think these guys need to undo a few buttons. I mean, all the way buttoned up in the house, just hanging around. You can loosen some buttons.
Yeah, that's why you have mirrors, so you can button up before you get on the next tram.
Henceforth, he must be on his guard against everyone.
Except for Sybil. Ooh, too soon? Too soon.
So I need to put this painting where no one can see it but me. Because I bet it's going to change more, because I'm going to do some more bad stuff. I got a taste of it, and I want more.
Thank you for leaving this dagger here, Mr. Chekhov.
Years pass. He doesn't age.
Dorian has been taking excursions to the bad part of town.
Down in the Blue Hill District. Blue Hill Court.
Bluegate Fields.
Bluegate Fields!
You know Bluegate.
I wouldn't be caught dead in Bluegate Fields.
And that's where he goes to be wanton.
Gladys, the little niece, is all grown up now, and she's in love with him. But she's got this suitor, David Stone. He wants to marry her too. David Stone only weighs 14 pounds.
What's wrong, Dorian? Why don't you answer me? Is there something else? Something I don't know about?
A painting, maybe? Is it a painting? Is it painting related? Don't ask me why I think that. It's just, for some reason, it came into my head. I don't love you. I'm not going to marry you. On a foggy night, Dorian runs into Basil.
I've been waiting for you in your library ever since 9 o'clock.
I ran out of books to read. You only have 2 books. And they're both by one Theodore Geisel.
I've been hearing all kinds of crazy rumors about you.
You all seem filled with an insatiable madness for pleasure.
And that's just not English.
Also, it's kind of weird that you're not growing old.
Hey, can I come look at that painting?
Come upstairs, Basil. I keep a diary of my life from day to day.
Just like my homie Peeps. Sammy Peeps. I'm gonna get to see that painting.
You've had more to do with my life than you think.
Oh, Craig, I've been longing to say these same words to you over all these years.
Well, let's see how the scene plays out.
Look at the painting! Boogity boogity! Ghoul face!
Wrinkles and warts and leprosy.
It reflects the hideousness inside Dorian's soul.
It's beyond nature, beyond reason.
I love it!
Start praying. Maybe you can reverse what the painting looks like.
Do you know how to pray, Dorian?
Put your lips together and blow.
What is it we were taught to say in our boyhood?
Nanny, nanny, boo-boo. Dorian, in a fit of something, self-loathing, I don't know, just pure evil,
Stabbity, 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 stab.
he kills Basil. Basil. I keep wanting to call him Basil. That's how we say it in America.
And that's the end of Basil.
He will never see his wife Rosemary again. Ghoul! The old ones know that ghouls exist. He turns to look at the painting, and the painting is going.
Dorian looks over at his portrait, and his hands are now covered with blood.
That what he had done could never be undone.
But who knows what could happen. You wouldn't think that a painting would... And he calls up Alan Campbell.
Can you get rid of a body for me?
Alan Campbell says, I'm not going to do that. Well, I've got this letter with incriminating secrets.
Alan does it, and then soon thereafter commits suicide.
Dorian dined that evening with Lady Narborough.
Narborough? There's dinner at Dardra's.
Dorian proposes to Gladys. And then he's off to Bluegate Fields.
You know who also is down in Bluegate? Jim, Sybil's sailor brother.
Has been looking for Dorian for the past 18 years. He knows that he has something to do with her death.
Jim doesn't notice the fact that Dorian walks in.
Dorian sits down with this drunk.
And green or dry, a man must die before it bears its fruit. Goodbye, Sir Tristan.
I sure will miss him. Toot, toot, toot. And Jim overhears it.
That's Dorian Gray, and he doesn't get older, and here's his address.
I call him DG.
In the small hours of the night, when every sound is seized upon by the distraught imagination,
Dorian, I have the same problem. You just need to get a fan. Meanwhile, there's a shooting party, and they're shooting at the animals.
Good heavens, I've hit a beater.
I've shot poor Wilhelm.
looks as if he'd been a sort of sailor, tattooed on both arms and that kind of thing.
His last words were, "Ah-ga-ga-ga-ga-ga-ga." It's Jim, Sybil's brother. He dead.
Goodbye. Until 8:30.
Or perhaps half past a monkey's ass. I never know where I'm going to put the half past a monkey's ass joke, so I like to have options. Mm-hmm. Gladys gets a letter from Dorian. He says the engagement's off.
He had spared Gladys. Would there be any sign of his one good deed in the portrait?
And he does see that the painting has changed a little bit.
There was hope for him then.
And I will pray and I will do good deeds. First good deed I'm going to do, I'm going to stab this painting in the heart. Quack!
When he stabs the painting, he stabs himself.
Dorian Gray falls dead. His painting becomes young again. His 3 bodies show up.
Dorian is a hideous
Monster face.
Boogity, boogity. The Picture of Dorian Gray is an allegory.
Yes.
What is your take on what that allegory means?
Within beauty, there's potential for cruelty. And if you have eternal beauty, you are damned to corruption.
It's like absolute power corrupting. When you lose your mortality, you lose your humanity. The movie was very dry.
Yes.
I think it was made about 20 years too early.
What year was this?
45. Because we never get the sense that Dorian Gray is living this life of debauchery.
They only show him going through that door in Bluegate.
I think to really sell that loss of his soul, we need to see more of that, and they just couldn't show that in 45.
Yeah, it sounded like as though Dorian Gray was possibly bisexual.
Is that the blackmail of Alan Campbell? I'm going to tell your wife what we've been doing.
Oh.
You had something to say about that actor, the guy who played Adrian.
Adrian, he seemed very, very modern.
What would you like? A song? Poem? Painting? I do all three surpassingly well.
If you would have dropped him into a 1985 version of Dorian Gray, he would have blended right in.
That actor's name is Morton Lowry, and he's been in movies such as these.
Oh, those.
I have never heard of the name Herd as a man's name.
No, me neither.
It's got to be short for Harold, I would
Possibly.
imagine.
Herd, Shepherd.
Yeah, could be Shepherd.
Possibly.
Herd.
A strange actor, Herd Hatfield. He's not that good of an actor.
He's very stiff.
And I think he looked the part, he could play the piano, and then the director said, all right, do nothing. Let everyone else act around you. It's a common thing to have the least interesting character be the central character.
Yeah, but that role really needed a more dynamic actor who
Yeah.
can show the contrast between Dorian at the beginning of the movie and Dorian towards the end of the movie.
Yes. So Oscar Wilde is a poet, and he likes the wordplay. It does seem as though a few names do mirror each other. Adrian and Dorian, they kind of...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, kind of ring of each other. And same with Sybil and Basil. Both of them are artists who are laid low, who are killed, basically, by Dorian Gray.
My whole life, I always thought the name of the book was The Portrait of Dorian Gray.
Yeah.
And then I learned it was Picture. And I thought, that's not as good a title. But really it is, because picture has multiple meanings. It's like, he's the picture of health. Mm-hmm. This is the picture of Dorian Gray. This is what the guy's all about.
Yes.
And then, of course, his name is Dorian Gray, but he never goes gray.
Mm-hmm.
Harry Wooden, he doesn't have much of a heart.
He wouldn't be a good guy. Ivan Albright is the artist who painted The Picture of Dorian Gray. He has a couple of paintings down at the Art Institute in Chicago.
Including this one.
I forget if it's a door or if it's a coffin, and the painting is terrifying. And he spent years on this painting.
Speaking of paintings, the portrait of young Dorian Gray was painted by an artist named Enrique Medina. Several years after this movie, a friend of Herd Hatfield bought the painting at an MGM auction and gave it to Herd Hatfield as a gift. In 2015, the portrait was put up for auction at Christie's in New York City with a pre-auction estimated between $5,000 and $8,000. It sold for $149,000.
Wow.
There was an actress in this movie that played a character named Duchess. Her name is Moyna McGill, and she is Angela Lansbury's mother.
Oh, that's interesting.
And speaking of Angela Lansbury, she would go on to reprise her performance of Goodbye Little Yellow Bird 42 years later on an episode of Murder, She Wrote, where she plays her own cousin.
She's got range.
I am very interested now in reading the book.
Me too. And it's a short one, too.
Because I feel like so much of the wit was lost in George Sanders' delivery.
Tramping about on huge feet, and so I avoided meeting him. It's a very common type of butterfly, Basil, Limonitis, Sibylla, hardly belongs in a jungle.
It's a problem. If someone talks too well, they talk so well you can't understand them.
That's very Wilde-esque.
If he could have just brought a little bit more texture to the lines, it would be much more fun to listen to his endless wildisms. Is it a horror movie?
No. It's a horror movie when they're in that attic. It's a similar type story to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but there's no Mr. Hyde. Mm-hmm. There's painting. Well, we're done looking at the Picture of Dorian Gray, and now it's time to move on over to Seen It.
Seen It!
Tonight's theme, more Oscar movies.
Dan Frederick writes, Sound of Metal was incredible. The sound design, performances, and giving a voice to the deaf community all make it a must-see film of last year. Seen it.
Seen It, yeah. It's a story about a heavy metal drummer who loses his hearing, but that's not really what the story is about. The story is about addiction.
Yes, it is.
It's very well done and... Very well done.
Mm-hmm.
Just stupid.
This Oscar-nominated movie, very well done.
Useless thing to say. The tragedy is not his deafness. The tragedy is the junky logic that he uses to try and fix an unfixable problem.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize that the solution he's running towards is going to make things much worse.
Yeah. When there's a bit of the technical aspect of a film that is so strong that you're like, this is genius and I've never seen before, I always have to doubt myself. They say that if the curtain goes up and you applaud the set, then the set designer has failed. So my question is this the greatest sound design of all time, or have I been duped? Because this might be the greatest sound design of all time. You are put in the head of someone who has lost his hearing.
I think what you're getting at is that does it steal focus from the story, and I don't think it does.
No.
Marina McAwesome rooting for Minari.
Seen it.
Ding dong broken. Broken ding dong. Seen it. I didn't think much of Minari when I first watched it. I thought, this is very nice. Mm-hmm. I'm not seeing a Best Picture here. And I'm still not sure I do, but it definitely has grown in my estimation in the time since I've watched it, and I have fond memories of it, and I kind of want to watch it again.
It is a story as old as America. Every immigrant group eventually has a story of, and then we came to America to become farmers.
And chicken sexers.
And chicken sexers, yes.
I think in a year when the Best Supporting Actor category wasn't so crowded, Will Patton probably could have gotten a nomination for this.
What has become of the Will Patton that we grew up with? Will Patton, who's just like, I'm a big tough guy. And then just the last few years, he's been doing these indie films.
At a certain point, you get too old to menace Madonna.
True, yeah.
You get too old to blow up satellites in space.
That's right.
You gotta become the weird guy who works in the field.
Owen Anderson says, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom absolutely floored me. The film talks about stealing and appropriation. Chadwick Boseman's performance was amazing. Seen it.
Turns out that Chadwick Boseman's Oscar win was not the sure thing that everyone thought it was going to be, but an amazing performance nonetheless. I don't know that I really have anything to say about this movie. It's August Wilson. It's Viola Davis. It's Chadwick Boseman. It's an amazing cast. Just go watch it. I have nothing to say about it.
It's a lot of words.
Yeah.
So, which I always say with August Wilson.
Is Denzel doing all these? He's
is
pumping all these out? That's great.
All 10 August Wilson plays. Hold on. Jitney is coming.
I was going to say Jitney. Josh M. Parker. In the 80s, situations like Judas and the Black Messiah would have resulted in 2 Best Actor nods. This one somehow got 2 Best Supporting Actor nods. Huh?
Huh.
Seen it.
Seen it.
Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield, they basically have equal roles. Mm-hmm. So I guess you could call them Best Supporting Actors.
Yeah, but Thelma and Louise, they were both nominated for Best Actress.
Okay. Daniel Kaluuya won, as expected. 2 things other than the acting about this movie that I thought was extraordinary was the score. That was Craig Harris and Mark Isham. And I thought the score was so assertive and so period specific, but also really kind of pushed the action forward. I just thought it was a really great score. And also the cinematography. It looked like you were watching a movie from the 70s, but it did not seem retro in any way. Technically, as well as screenplay, as well as acting, it's just an overall excellent film. There is a place you can go that is not gray at all. It's full of color. It's our website, welcome-to-the-basementshow.com. All of our episodes are there. And you can also look at some buttons that are PayPal donation buttons. You can click on them to support our show with a one-time or rolling monthly donation.
Could you tell me one person who's done this?
Kevin, who's a longtime viewer, gave us a very generous donation, catching up on some back donations and watching classic Navy movies on deployment. He wants to know if we've seen Mr. Roberts. I have seen it. I will put it on the Seen It list and we'll talk about it on a future show.
Yes, I've seen it too.
You can also watch us open our mail on the unboxing show. That comes out this coming Friday. Look at them big boxes. Gonna open them all up.
I like big boxes, and I cannot lie.
Thanks for spending some time with us, and thanks for spending some time with us, and now you can watch this.
Because if he ever does you any wrong, I'll track him down and kill him.
Jim, you talk like one of the melodramas Mother used to act in.
That was when acting was understood. I received a great deal of gratifying attention in those days.
Only twice did I have to take off me knickers. For the punters.
Goodbye, little yellow bird.